Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside interviews. Today we are in the Saint-Bruno region with Martin from MonsRegius. Thank you for having us today. So, what's the MonsRegius beer story? What made you create MonsRegius?
I was an art director in a studio in Montreal, and I was kind of a tiny bit under challenge. So I started looking to a hobby that would keep me busy. I've always liked tasting wine with food, pairing beer and food. So I thought maybe, I'm going to try making wine. There's no wine kit available with raisin easily. So I started beer, and I really enjoyed the hobby. I enjoyed the cooking aspect of it and the creative aspect of mixing flavors together. So from there to here, it's a continuation, a creative story where we explore flavors and try to make good beer.
Excellent. What were some of the difficulties you ran into creating your brewery?
A big challenge, of course, we had limited investment, so we decided to make a very small brewery. Also to do it within our means, not to have outside pressures and get partners that kind of say what kind of beer we were going to do. So I really wanted to do a family-owned brewery. Okay. The owners are my wife and myself. So it's a family project. And that was a bit of a challenge, but not as much. So we found good service providers and a good equipment company. The first year was a big challenge. Okay. So we had beers that were gushing. We had types of beers that were really from my homebrew days that were spiced beers. And maybe we got good appreciation, but not as much enthusiasm as I expected or I hoped. Okay. So people really liked the beers we made. But now we're making beers that are more on par with trends. Okay, perfect. So it's going quite well right now. We're facing the problem we're facing now is that we can't brew enough beer. Okay. Because we're a small team. We're 2 people in the brewery. My wife doesn't work for me. She has her own business. So, doing all the work. Yeah. 2 guys in a brewery.
Okay. So you brought us a beer out. What's the one we're trying today?
This is a Pils inspired by Italian craft beers. Okay. I was in Rome at the end of the summer in 2018, and I tasted Tipo Pils, which is an Italian interpretation of German Pilsners. Okay. So it's kind of crisp, but more floral, more spicy, a bit more hoppy. It's a lovely beer to brew, and it's a crisp beer. It's very refreshing, and I really enjoy Pilsner, and I've been brewing Pilsner even at home for about 10 years. Okay. But in a very simple way. So.
Okay, excellent. So as we say on the show, a toast! Toast! Oh, yeah. Floral and clean at the same time on the nose. Yeah, that's a nice clean beer.
And it's also fairly soft.
Yeah, very soft.
But very drinkable. Mm-hmm. And we tasted a bunch of Pilsners from Quebec and from elsewhere in the world. Our favorite one was Pilsner Urquell. Okay. We liked the bitterness of it. Mm-hmm. It surprised us at first. The other beers we tried, some were very good, but I found that they were not light enough. There was a bit too much texture to be an easy drinker. Mm-hmm. And people like hoppy beers.
Yeah, right now.
So we raised the level, but not to a level where it becomes IPA-esque. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, it's a very good beer, very clean. I could see myself drinking a bunch of these during the summer.
I do. In the winter as well.
So MonsRegius, why'd you come up with that name for the brewery?
In the first, there has been many versions, many steps in starting a project between like 10 years ago when I first thought about getting into the beer business. I wanted to open a import-only beer store with beers from all over the world because I was really into this. Yeah. And I still am in a way. but the law doesn't allow us to do this without serving food, and it's kind of a very touchy subject legally. Afterwards, I wanted to open a counter brewery on Montreal Avenue in Montreal. So I would brew in the back and sell at the counter, and people would come. We could deliver kegs with bicycles and things. A very urban thing. It was to be developed on Montreal, Montreal Avenue. But I've always liked Latin-based names. I've created names for products in my designer career, and I oftentimes got a Latin basis to the name. MonsRegius means Montreal, Mount Royal in Latin, and we are in Montérégie, which means region of the mounts of Montreal.
Yeah, like you're in the South Shore of Montreal, but kind of further than what I would call Brossard or anything like that.
And it's a small chain of mounts that starts from Oka to Mount McGill, Mount Royal, all the small mountains on the South Shore as well, and Mont-Saint-Bruno is one of them. That's why.
Perfect.
And I wanted something different because oftentimes breweries in Quebec will write microbrasserie of such a place, or I didn't want to have the name microbrasserie because I think that consumers care about the beer they're buying. So we wrote Bières Artisanales because I think it's what people care about. Do they care about the business behind? Some do, some don't. And I've never been a fan of, in French, microbrasserie. It's kind of a term that talks about the size of the brewery, but not about the ideas. And you can be a brasserie, industrial and gigantic, or a very small one. But it still is the same principle, and it's the real term.
I even think with the artisanal, that's like a buzzword for people right now to see, so that they'll be drawn to that.
Yeah. In France, they're starting to use the term craft, which is the same thing as artisanal. But because it's a new term to them, it's like new craft beer. They call craft, and older approaches, they're called artisanal.
That's interesting. I'll have to check that out if we're ever out in that region for sure. So the names and labels, some of them are like IPA Cuvée, but then I saw Medusa. So why are some just basically named after the beer, and then why are some named after something else?
Well, using the term IPA to describe an IPA is a strategic thing to do in the marketplace, like writing pills on a can, because people in front of the shelves have a few hundred products to choose from. So you have to be attractive to the eye and clear in your communication. In the past, we had labels that had a text, a vertical text. And it's a challenge because consumers don't have the time or the energy to take the bottle and move it and read it. So we wanted to do something very simple and easy to access as far as the information. So, for instance, we added keywords to every beer, like hoppy, crisp, and refreshing. So to help people make a decision and get a quick idea about the beer. The names, of course, like you said, some of the names are very clear, very direct to the style. Some are more artistic, I would say, inspirational. Most of the time, they contain a Latin element. Like we had a beer called Meridia. It's a moment in the day. In Latin, meridies. It's like noon. So I kind of taken that and feminized it to make it more ear-friendly. The labeling, of course, as a former designer, I do myself. Most of them are abstract.
Yes, very much so.
But they kind of give you an intuitive idea what the beer is like. Bright colors or subdued graphic elements. Because as a former designer, I had to do a lot of communication that was taking into account a perception that consumers are not really intelligent.
Okay.
So we kind of give them
yeah.
small drawings and childish things so they get attracted. And I'm in reaction to that. So I believe people are intelligent.
Yes.
They are cultured. They make decisions and try to bring something different in a visual approach.
Yeah,
and fun as well.
Like they're subdued in the abstract, but there's a place like Flying Monkeys where it's just wild labeling. And
of course.
Kind of stuff, everything thrown on the wall, it feels like.
Yeah, and I believe it's all good ultimately if it works for somebody.
Yeah.
There's no good and bad design. There, like in beer, there are some good beer and some bad beer. There's some levels of skills in visual communication, but many styles speak to different people. Yeah, and it's good for that.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, sometimes I'll be like, "That's nice can art," so I'll grab it just to get the Instagram and the Untappd photo, and then it's like, oh, but then I just want lager today, so it's my mind kind of swings when it comes to beer, but it's 95% craft beer now for me. So yeah,
and I think it's all important. Yes. The outside, the inside. It's not like we're some businesses, and not only in the craft beer business, will have designers create a very nice packaging to upscale the product that's contained in the packaging itself, because we're all influenced by packaging.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Everybody, it's like just the bright red color. Everybody's like, oh, bright red, I gotta go see what that is. So yeah, for sure. What's the first beer you ever brewed?
I started with a kit because I was reading prior to starting the hobby about the importance of cleanliness. So I'm going to start with something simple. I got a can. I brewed that. I cleaned up properly. I sanitized adequately. And that was the first thing I brewed. So it was kind of a Hefeweizen with spices and a Saison yeast, because Saison was really the rage back then. It was okay. It was an okay experience. But I really enjoyed the process of making the beer, the act of choosing the ingredients, and I'm crazy about learning new things all the time, to the annoyance of many people around me. But I'm not a super nerd, but I like the learning aspect of it.
Okay.
And that was the first beer I brewed at home. And here at MonsRegius, the first beer we brewed was the Alba. It's a type of grisette table beer. It was a light beer, very fun to brew, because also I didn't want to start with an imperial stout or an IPA or huge things that add too much complexity.
Something big and bold to start with sometimes is, I mean, for some people it works, but it doesn't work for everybody. And I think getting a good base flavor for people who are becoming new to your brewery is a good way to go about that.
Oh yeah. And there was none at the time. No, there was no grisette, no very light saison.
You brought us a second beer to try.
Yeah, we have the Rosée.
Okay.
We've been brewing for a few years now. The first Brut IPA in Quebec, the IPA Cuvée Extra Brut. And last year I started thinking, well, what about if we do like a Brut champagne, a pink champagne, like a Rosé? And this one is basically the same beer as the Extra Brut.
Okay.
It's a bit more sweet. We use hibiscus for color and raspberries for the fruitiness, and we use hops that have a red berry characteristics instead of more tropical traditional fruit. So we use Belma. It's a very toast moment.
Do you find Brut is becoming a very popular style, or it's just kind of swinging under the...
I think it's maintaining itself. There's no craze for it. I think people who enjoy light beers love it. It's working well for us. We add canning of these two, the traditional Extra Brut and the Rosé last Thursday. We're canning again next Friday. So it's working fairly well for us. People like it.
Good. One question I don't always ask, but I mean to sometimes, is somebody's new to craft beer. They walk in.
Yeah.
What do you start them on?
I would start them with the pills, because if they have been drinking beers before, people that I've not tried beers before. It depends. So some people I start with an imperial stout, like our Nocturna Affogato. If they like coffee, if they like sweet drinks, I think it's a good place to start. We have the Festina, which is a sour IPA. It's fruity. It's very low in bitterness. So, but some people don't like sour. So I find that more and more people like cocktail beers.
Oh yeah, okay.
New England IPA, milkshakes, imperial stouts, cupcake beers.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people who don't like beer, like traditional malty beers, like probably we do. And they're going crazy for milkshake IPAs and things like that. It's perfectly all right.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's kind of a market for that. And I don't think there's a potential progression for them to more traditional styles. It's like a wide universe of beer. And that's what I really love about the beer business, is that you can find your niche and really create anything you want. So that's our approach to brewing. We're trying to be creative and relevant in the market. Some people say I'm not focused enough on a certain style because we brew all the styles we want. But I like the creativity of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the more styles, the better. That, if you could perfect one style and then you start developing off that style, is a great idea. So, like you said, most people don't start with an imperial stout. That's just something wild and big for you to take your first time up at bats. That's a little risky.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Where the Pilsner, like you said, that's nice, refreshing. I love to say crushable. I could drink this all summer, to be honest. So,
yeah. But the thing is about imperial stouts, the ones we brew are very low in tannins. It's like chocolate milk. It's round, fruity. It's soft. So oftentimes people are surprised because they say, "Oh, black beers they're like coffee that has been on the heater for 2 hours." But I don't think it's true anymore. No. And people are always pleasantly surprised when we have them taste our stouts.
Yeah, I always love catching beer where it's like, this says 12%. Doesn't taste like 12%. So I can enjoy a beer, and I'm probably going to get drunk because it's a 12% beer. Course. So.
But you could do yoga,
Yeah, that's true. There is beer yoga as well. So.
You would be relaxed as well.
That's true.
But the learning curve is more steep.
Yeah,
I've heard.
Yeah. Have you done any collaborations?
We did a collaboration last fall with Benelux, with Benoît Mercier. A great guy. I really loved working with him on this. And we did what we called, actually. He created the cocktail term. It's a cocktail lager. Okay. So it was inspired by Amaretto Bourbon Sour. So it was a rich base, almost like a Bock. We had a sour and hokey aspect to it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fun, really fun. Yeah. And the guy loves synthesizer, and I'm an organ keyboard guy, so we had a great time talking about knobs.
Hey, you should just drag Tico from Benelux Verdun in too.
Oh yeah. So. I'm looking forward to meet him.
Oh yeah,
I've met him before, but spending time with him.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, and he was nice enough to host us on his can release, like his first kind of can release from that location. So,
okay.
Yeah, it was very nice. Any future collabs you'd like to do? Quebec, Ontario?
There's a few in Quebec I would like to do. There's one in Ontario, a brewery called Halo in Toronto. Very creative, great urban beers, I would say. Design is lovely as well. There's Jungle Juice in Rome. I would like young guys, crazy. I loved meeting them. Elsewhere in the world, yeah. I would also like to visit more breweries.
Okay. Have you done any Vermont at all, or
I've been to Ale Farmstead a few times. I've met Sean.
That's the big one.
Yeah, I've been there a few times. I want to visit Foam this summer.
Yeah, Foam is. I've been to Foam, so it depends on the day. If it's a new can release, hour lineup. If it's not a new can release, 10 minutes to drink a beer and buy whatever they have at the moment. Yeah. Also, if you're ever out there and you want to bring beer back, it's called I think it's the Winooski Beverage Center.
Yeah, I know this one.
The back is Vermont, and then the side is the rest of America, which is amazing. If you could kind of have the same thing across Canada, where you could bring your beers to Ontario, the Maritimes, would you do that?
Oh yeah, of course. I would love that. I think Ontario is a great market. I visited Toronto last year, and I thought to myself, man, if I was 25 years old, I would start a brewery in Toronto. Yeah. There's probably more cash needed, but the place is huge, and there is so much potential.
During the summer, do you have access to create a terrace?
Yeah, we have a terrace. We have a few picnic tables, a few Adirondack chairs. I put speakers out. Mm-hmm. We'll have some kind of flexible material to protect people from the sun and the potential rain, but I want something with a nice design, something elegant. And we have also a bit of music, and once in a while I play music outside. I bring my organ if people are patient with me.
Have you ever thought about bringing in like a local band to just perform for you that day? I'll pay you in beer and just go perform.
Yeah, we might, but there's about 15 people max, so we might do this. I'm thinking about doing a movie projection in the back. Okay. Like Bud Spencer movies and things like silly and fun things.
That sounds awesome. I mean, we've mostly been interviewing most of the brewers during the winter, so it's like, well, we have to go back this summer because of everything they told us.
It's a different vibe.
Yeah, for sure. So you got a last beer for us to try?
The barrel-aged Flanders Red, blended with a bit of old ale.
Okay.
We call that Oud Roodbruin. I love Flanders Red.
Yeah, that's so I'm an Untappd. I'm on Untappd all the time, and my 2500 beer was Rodenbach's gold medal winning Flanders Red, and I'm like, this is one of the best beers I've ever had. So toast. Oh yeah, beautiful smell.
I like that there's acidity, but not too much of the acidic.
Yeah, it's not overpowering in any way whatsoever. It kind of just like you get it a bit, and then it just goes right back down to the end of your throat. So that's a very good beer, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. So what's next for MonsRegius?
In 18 months, we'll have 2 batches of that ready. We are currently doing the anniversary beer for Saint-Bruno. Okay. It's a Belgian triple with local honey. Mm-hmm. More cans. Yesterday we brewed our stout, Affogato, inspired by a dessert that I tasted in Rome. Vanilla, coffee, and chocolate. Okay. And it's going to be canned. So most of our beers this year are going to be canned because it's so easier to sell and people love that.
Yeah, that's my thing. It's like I can bring cans to the beach. I can't bring a bottle.
Yeah.
It's I'm of the type though, if I have like something I can age for a year or two, I'd rather have it in a bottle than a can.
Yeah. I wonder about aging a beer in a can. Yeah. So I'm trying to read on that now.
I mean, that would be a very, very newer thing for people to do. So yeah, it's up and coming. I'm sure they're going to develop some sort of new can technology. I mean, even right now, I think Quebec wants to shift to the cans where it's already printed on the can.
Yeah. So some of that can be done. Yeah. Well, technically, what you cannot have with printing on the can from the current providers in the market is our gradients. Okay. Gradients of colors. So you cannot have that. And high resolution of images. So you can have some fairly good printing, but it means an adaptation of some of the designs that we are doing. So I'm seeing how this technology evolves.
Yeah, it's going to be an evolving technology for sure. And it's going to be great for breweries. And
it is.
Now recently with the government having a full return everywhere, I think that's also going to help where, I'd buy a beer at the SAQ, but not be able to bring it back anywhere. So I bring it back to Toronto to the beer store because I can do that. So,
of course, yeah.
There's some up and coming things for sure. besides what next, I don't have any other questions for you. So at this point, let everybody know where they can find you.
We are, you can find our beers in about 350 retail locations in Quebec, in bars and restaurants. You can visit our website to find a beer. We have a section for that. And of course, we are on Facebook, Instagram, just with the name, the MonsRegius tag.
Perfect. Awesome. So we're going to put all that in the show notes and the address. So if you're ever in the Saint-Bruno region, swing by, grab some beers with Martin. As for us, we always say drink craft, not crap. Thank you very much.